All right, and we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight it's me and Arknolia. We've tried to get a hold of our YR, but for some reason we're unable to get a hold of him. And primarily because it's kind of unusual because this was his idea for this particular topic tonight. Musicians who can not only sing but play multiple instruments. That is the focus of tonight's episode here. And we do have lots out there too that's worth mentioning. Now, I don't know if why.
Essentially all four Beatles.
Yeah, exactly there. Well, mostly the one we know is Paul McCartney. He was the one who did a lot of instruments on that one solo record he did, which was simply called McCartney. He played all of the instruments, including drums. I mean, if you look at the documentary Get Back, McCartney was seen playing Ringo's drums here a couple of times in the past, and it's certainly no secret that a lot of times during the recording of the White Album, it was basically sometimes John and Paul minus Ringo, because you remember during the recording, I believe it was during the recording of that album that Ringo walked out, said he had to leave, and when he came back, he was welcomed with a bunch of bouquet of flowers by his drum kit, saying "Welcome back." And let's not forget, Paul McCartney did a lot of. He plays regular guitar, other than a bass guitar, piano as well. There, I guess he was the one that was working the mellotron during some of those recordings, like "Strawberry Fields Forever," "Flying," stuff from the Magical Mystery Tour album. There, no doubt about that. So, definitely, Paul McCartney gets definitely a big nod there, and he's still out and about doing his thing, doing shows.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely there. And much credit to him because he owns the copyrights of his old material, as we mentioned a couple times on this program before. I guess MPL Communications, I believe that's the name of his company. And the good reason he did that was because the Beatles kind of lost the rights of their own recordings there. I know McCartney had been trying for years to get the copyrights of the whole Beatles catalog, only to lose out by Michael Jackson back in '85 there, 1985 to be exact. Now, with Michael Jackson gone, since 2009, I guess the Apple Corps, I guess it was formed around that time. They now own the Beatles catalog, if I'm correct. I'm not too sure. I got to look up the internet who owns which there. And of course, we also got to not acknowledge us. I want to acknowledge somebody else right now from the industrial underground world there. Kevin Cropton from Toronto, Canada, better known as Kevin Key. He's known mostly for the group Skitty Puppy, which I saw many
Mm.
times back in Michigan and here in Texas. Now, Kevin Key has been known to be not only a keyboard player, but also a pretty good drummer. He played in this band called Images in Vogue in the early 80s there, prior to forming Skinny Puppy with frontman Nivek Ogre. And of course, Key has many, many projects under his belt there. Other than Skinny Puppy, he had Plateau, Download, The Tear Garden, and he also was in part of a thing called Puppy Gristle, which featured the frontman of Throbbing Gristle, the late Genesis P. Ordridge. That was released on the bootleg many years after their album The Process in 1996. Now, we also got to bring up another multi instrumentalist, Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails. For up until about he started working with Atticus Ross on all those soundtracks a couple years back, it was mostly Trent Reznor doing all the instruments on all his albums, including Pretty Hate Machine, The Downward Spiral, With Teeth, The Fragile, other Ghost, his project Ghost. He basically did it all there when you look at it there. And that's when, of course, he, as I mentioned, he met Atticus Ross, and the two formed an absolute awesome bond. And Nine Inch Nails, as of now, is officially Trent and Atticus Ross, from what I understand there. I guess the two had done so many soundtracks, like Gone Girl was one of them there. I guess they did a couple others. I should probably look up in a few minutes here. So definitely, Trent Reznor has definitely a big part on this list here. And you have any? I know you have a couple on your list there as well. There,
Well, I don't have a list, but I'm doing it from memory.
all right.
Geddy Lee,
Geddy Lee of Rush plays bass, sings, and keyboards as well. There,
he's a big one.
absolutely there. Tom Schultz from Boston. Not only is he a guitar player, songwriter, producer, engineer, he's also a badass wailer on the organ as well. The organ solo he did on the track Smokin' speaks volumes, that's for sure there.
Now, are we naming people that sing but only play one instrument, or is it multiple?
I think, I'm not too sure, remember this was YR's idea, about doing this program here.
Okay, because I was going to say on the Eagles, all five of them basically.
Yeah. Don Henley, I know YR mentioned that. He plays guitar occasionally, and he also plays drums. So definitely, wait a minute, holy cow, did I do something wrong here? Wait a minute, what the hell? I just realized how the hell did this happen? I thought, I gotta change the title here. Apparently what I did, I had everything set up. I thought I had everything set up. So you come up with the list, so I changed the title of our, on the title and description here. And, I don't know how the hell that happened.
And of course you got Joe Walsh, who he only plays guitar, I think. But
yeah. Don Felder as well. Of course, the late Glenn Frey. I think he plays keyboards as well on a couple of songs there. I know he did that on the track The One You Love, probably one of his quintessential love ballads there in his solo career.
Timothy B. Schmidt,
Who sang on, I guess he's the one who wrote I Can't Tell You Why, one of their big love songs there.
Yeah, I think that's true.
That's true there. Next to, of course, what's that? Oh yeah, Best of My Love. That was one of the first Eagle ballads that they came out with back in the day there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of your solo artists play instruments.
Yeah. Paul Rogers.
Jackson Browne.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we got to mention this. Paul Rogers from Bad Company. In 1983, he released a solo record called Cut Loose, in which he played all instruments on that album there, including the original version of the song Live in Peace, which would later be recorded with his other band, The Firm, with Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin. And speaking of Led Zeppelin, John Paul Jones, who I remember meeting briefly when he opened up for King Crimson, definitely gets the nod because not only was he the bass player, he was also a good keyboard player, did a great keyboard solo on the track All My Love, and he was considered the arranger of a lot of their songs there. But I don't think he ever got that much credit because, as you all know, it was supposed to be Jimmy's band and that only, I guess, So much of the credit went to Jimmy Page, blah, blah, blah there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was definitely a group effort, without a doubt there. Now, I know John Lennon, sang and played guitar and played keyboards as well. He did that a lot on songs like Mother, Instant Karma.
Imagine.
Imagine, yep, absolutely there.
I think George Harrison only played guitar, but I could be wrong.
I think so as well. He basically did just play guitar, slide guitar and a couple solos there, here and there. And I think Ringo Starr just played the drums, but he also sang as well. You remember he released a
Right.
couple of solo albums of his own, like the No No song, You're So Fine. No, what's that? No, You're 16, You're Beautiful, and You're Mine.
Right.
And we also can't forget the song Yellow
It don't
Sub.
come easy.
Yep, absolutely. Which I thought Geddy Lee was singing backup on that song. Turns out I was wrong about that. We cannot forget the song he sings like Naturally, Don't Pass Me By, and of course Yellow Submarine.
Right.
You know,
And Octopus's Garden.
absolutely. We got to. I know they were working on that song in the Big Get Back documentary that I saw.
Yeah, I still got to sit down and watch that thing.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty good there. It's worth checking out without a doubt. There. All right. All right. So let me put up Ark and Me.
And of course, you have Kiss, who they all played instruments.
Yeah, it was. Well, let's not forget. I think Peter Criss was also a singer as well. He sang on songs
Right.
like "Hard Luck Woman," of course, the quintessential, timeless Beth, which by the way was written
Right.
about his wife at that time. Missing him because he's always on the road, always in the studio, always practicing with the band. And I guess it explains a lot of reasons. One of the big reasons why women often cheat on their mates. Now, I've seen episodes of the show Cheaters many times, and a lot of the women suspects on that program always say, "You're never around, he's always at work, so what am I supposed to do? What about me? I realize you have a job, but I didn't think I was going to get this lonely. But, and I guess, but here, can I say this, gotta think before you do something dumb like that because that's gonna hurt the man. That's gonna hurt your soulmate. And plus, it's gonna give you a bad rep in the end there, especially when
Right.
you're portrayed as this wholesome, do goody good girl that you was raised to be all your whole life.
Right.
Yeah, there. My camera's still working. Who can play more than what the fuck? One instrument. I hope I got that correctly. What am I doing there? There we go. Give me a couple minutes here to put a different thumbnail. I don't know how the hell that happened. I don't know if I ever got a chance to change the thumbnail and the title description earlier today when I woke up because I was busy taking care of some shit there. I don't know what the
I
heck
know
happened.
Neil Young mainly plays guitar, but he does play occasional keyboard.
That's true there. All right. All right. It's all set and done. All right. Everything has been corrected, ladies and gentlemen. And it should be on the go right now as we speak. All right. Give it a couple of minutes here. All right. It should be all set and ready. I know. We also got to acknowledge other people like, let's see. I think there's another multi-instrumentalist out of England. His name is Ronan Harris. He leads the group V&V Nation, industrial group out of the UK there. And he's been known to do a lot of multi instruments, mostly on the keyboards. We look at it because a lot of industrial artists rely on drum machines as like our Trent Reznor did, Skinny Puppy and Frontline Assembly as well there.
And then you got Greg Lake, who played bass and
Guitar.
six string.
Yeah, six-string guitar as well there. Actually, regular guitar. He did like a solo on Carnival 9 First Impression Part 2, if you remember that there.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I'm going to try what are here. Oh, let's also not forget, Robert Fripp from King Crimson.
I don't think he ever sang, did he?
No, he didn't sing. Well, I know he played keyboard and guitar, but you're right, he's not a singer.
Adrian Belew, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yes, yeah. By the way, Adrian Belew, he also plays drums. The Crimson, cause a couple members of Crimson had a project called Project One, Project Two, and Project Two was basically Trey Gunn, their bass player at that time, Robert Fripp, and Adrian Belew. And Belew on this project was playing drums. And on the look at some of the live concert footage from the early '80s on the track Indiscipline, Belew is playing on the drum kit and doing the spoken word dialogue and the beginning of the song. Of course, when during Robert Fripp's solo, when the rest of the band kicks in, Belew walks over, picks up his guitar, and continues the song with the group there.
Yeah.
And I think David Bowie played a couple of multiple instruments as well there. I know he toured with Iggy Pop as his keyboard player there. It was the same. It was the time that he released the album Low, and I guess I don't. I think he plays guitar just as well there. Look at the vintage video for Space Oddity there when he had no eyebrows and that red mullet going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we also got to include. Did we mention Prince the artist?
Not yet.
All right, so we got to give him definitely get lots of credit on this subject because he was known to play 27 instruments. That is what I remember reading in the magazine a couple of times there. He sang, played bass, played drums, guitar, keyboards, you name it. In fact, if you ever saw the movie Sign of the Times from 1987, where they play live versions of the whole album of the same name, basically he gets behind Sheila E.'s drum kit and starts playing the drums, while Sheila gets the microphone and starts rapping for the audience there.
All four monkeys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the only one left now is Mickey Dolenz. I mean, yeah. Now, I'm not too sure if I know Davy Jones was a singer. Peter Tork and Michael Nesmith were musicians as well. There, they did a lot of stuff on those studio albums that they did at that time. Now,
Right.
was Mickey Dolenz a real drummer? Because a lot of times during film, a lot of times when I see them mimicking their songs for their TV show, he would kind of like look like he was playing left-handed or something like that there.
I think he had to learn drums. I don't think he was a drummer.
And I know it. That's what I'm thinking.
I
as
read
well
an
there.
interview somewhere that I don't remember which monkey it was, said that the configuration of the group should have been Davy Jones playing guitar, Mickey Dolenz being the front man, Michael Nesmith playing bass, and Peter Tork playing regular guitar.
Oh,
Because that was the instruments they were best at.
yeah, I see there.
'Cause
Yeah,
Davy Jones could play drums.
yeah. Oh, wow, interesting there. And as I mentioned, all four monkeys no longer with us.
Well, Mickey Dolenz is
Mickey
still
Dolenz,
there.
that's right. I forgot. My bad for that, folks. Oh man. Let me try and get a hold of YRC here. There.
Yeah, I know when Davy Jones died, it was, that you heard it in the news.
Yeah.
Michael Nesmith died, you heard it in the news.
Yes.
Funny thing is, when Peter Tork died, I didn't ever see anything on it. Somebody told me that.
Actually, I did. I saw it on the news item on Facebook and that here. I saw it a couple on the internet there that he had passed away. And kind of funny, he was also the only monkey that went to prison. Apparently, what it was, he went to Mexico, came back with a whole bunch of hash that he forgot about, got discovered by the border police, and went to jail for it for a long while there. And I guess they had to make sure they didn't get the shit beat out of him there because prison's one place you don't want to end up in. That's for sure, man.
Mm.
Regardless of which country it is, especially Mexican prison, for what I understand.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. Another, I guess, does Rick James count as a multi-instrumentalist and singer as well? There.
I'm not real familiar with what he does. I
Well,
mean, as far as instruments
I
go.
know. Well, I think he played guitar and bass guitar, but I think he mostly played bass guitar because you'll look at some of the album covers and videos he was in. He would play a white Rickenbacker bass. I know he did that on the Street Songs album there, the one that has "Give It to Me, Baby" and of course "Super Freak." And of course, Roger Waters, he plays bass and guitar just as well there. He did that a lot of times on those Pink Floyd recordings like Grantchester Meadows, Pigs on the Wing Parts 1 and 2, Mother, From the Wall. He'd done that many songs before there. Right. And I'm not too sure. I think David Gilmour plays keyboards once in a while. He did that on the track of his own called "Out of the Blue."
Right.
Which, by
But
the
while
way,
he was with,
Pink
when
Floyd.
he's with Floyd, he basically pretty much left it all to Richard Wright.
Yeah. Now I don't know if Richard Wright played any other instruments other than keyboards, but he also was known to sing on a few songs himself. He did co-vocals on the track "Wear the Inside Out" from
Right.
1994, and he did a couple other songs like "Summer '69" from Adam Hart Mother, as well as the lead vocals on the song called "Stay" from the Obscured by Clowns album there. And by the
Yeah, he
way,
didn't do many vocals, but you know.
that's true there. In fact, he didn't really wasn't able to contribute that much because Roger Waters was doing all the work, all the writing here and there. I guess eventually it was Waters who booted him out of the group later before the recording of the Wall album there. But he was kept on as like a session musician there since Floyd is supposed to be a four-piece unit. But as I mentioned, he was the only one of the group that actually made a lot of money from the Wall performances in 1980-81 there. Because the rest had to dig deep in their pockets to pay for the stage set, including the inflatable judge, the inflatable, the airplanes, the pig with the marching hammers on each side. They spent a lot of money there, believe it or not, on that tour.
Yeah.
And they also,
It's funny that Waters was always composed, write everything. And he complained about having to do that. And it was like, well, you won't let anybody else do it.
well, Waters has been known to be a control freak, according to many sources there. I don't know if he's like that now. I guess he probably eased up. I know he admitted that in one article I remember reading years ago that he regrets taking Pink Floyd to court over the ownership of the name back in '86 there. I mean, but then
Well,
again,
basically, if he'd stayed on course and left the final cut alone,
yeah,
or wrote some different stuff, everything probably would have been fine.
that's true there. Well, the final cut for one, I remember hearing, it was supposed to have been a Waters solo record, but he decided to make it a Pink Floyd album there, with just Nick Mason and David Gilmour. And I guess Michael Kamen, the guy who was the orchestra arranger for that album and on some songs of The Wall, he did the keyboard work on that album there.
Yeah. Well, if we ever do a show on albums by groups we like that we hate the album, that's one of my choices.
Oh, by the way, we got to mention this album. I remember this subject we talked about last. We got to mention this record here. This album from Motley Crue from 1994, simply called Motley Crue, tanked miserably in the back that year. And I throw this, and this came to my mind earlier this afternoon because I don't know why I forgot to mention it, but you know what, it makes a lot of sense. Now let me remind everybody of this scenario here. Cruz already signed a multi-million deal with Elektra Records, a label at that time. All their last records in the 80s were multi-successes, including the last one at that time with Vince Neil called Dr. Feel Good. God knows how many hit singles came out of that album. Don't Go Away Mad, Just Go Away, Kickstart My Heart, and of course the title track of that album. Now, it started in the 1990s. The scene was changing, and I guess the rest of the crew was trying to fit in with all that, with that scenario. But Vince Neil wanted to hold on to what was going, to what he basically wanted to hold on to what was dear to his heart. And I guess the two came to blows verbally at that time there, and I guess Vince Neil walked out, and thinking that he was let go, while the rest of the crew, Nikki Sixx in particular, said he walked out and left. And they got John Corabi to be their new frontman to record this album, simply called Motley Crue. Now, songs like Power to the Music, Uncle Jack, and of course the hit single Hooligans Holiday, they sounded pretty good, but it was not the crew that we all knew and loved. In fact, that album tanked miserably. As a matter of fact, with all the crew reissues of that album, reissues of all their albums, like on their label Motley Records, including all the greatest hits ones that they've been coming out with the a few times there. That one album with Corabi was not even selected. They have yet to even perform songs from that record there. And yet people out there, when you read the comments on some of the tracks on that album, they're saying, this is a pretty powerful album. I don't know why it never got any real recognition like it did there. Well, of course, at that time, alternative was the big thing there, and bands like Motley Crue and Skid Row were looked on as a hair metal. That's when that term started being poked around that time. It was also laughable, also a joke. So.
Back to singers and instruments.
Yep.
Frank Zappa.
Oh yeah, definitely. He sang, played awesome guitar, and was a well-respected composer. Joe's Garage, Thingfish, many things. He worked with a couple other classical composers as well there. In fact, I guess this thing, I remember there was a clip of him on the Steve Allen show way before he put together the Mothers of the Invention.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, how to play a bicycle.
Right.
And at that time, he was clean shaven. He had short hair. He hadn't grown it out yet there. And Steve Allen was by saying, "Oh, that's pretty interesting, Frank. Don't bring it back here ever again there." But, Zappa, we miss him very definitely, because he was the one who really put a lot of things in check.
Right.
In fact, he was one of the first guys that mentioned Illuminati a few times. He mentioned it on the Arsenio Hall show back in the early 90s. And here we are talking about Illuminati here left and right in the very conspiracy shows there.
Yeah, which I hope YouTube's little robots don't go out and find us saying that.
Yeah. Well, we're not that one. We're not that big of a show, so definitely
True.
we'll probably have a hard time. They'll have a hard time trying to find us.
Right.
right there. Let's see there. I also got to throw this guy around, Mick Harris. In the 80s, he was the drummer for the grindcore metal group Napalm Death out of the UK. And it was like a thrash band, but where the instruments were detuned and played through various pedals to make a grinding sound, especially with the bass player. You know, you listen to the bass player on for the group Godflesh, G.C. Green. He was able to detune the bass, play through the different distorted pedals, where it sounds like a grinder or a machine or something like that. There, and the first Scorn album that I forgot the time. What's the name? Vay Solis. Nick Boland's bass guitar. He was a singer and bass player and guitarist for that project there up until his firing from the group. Scorn, that is, what I'm speaking of. Featuring Mick Harris, by the way. After he left Napalm Death, he put together that project. That one record was definitely, it was a mix of industrial, metal, thrash, and couple of soundscape pieces there, but at the time, people just didn't really get it. Of course,
Yep.
Harris has now taken Scorn to the dub music limit there. Needless to say, he mostly runs by machines. He even admitted he doesn't remember the last time he had a drum kit. In fact, he also has another project. My soundscape pieces that I upload on my YouTube channel here.
Right.
Yeah, one of the inspirations for these pieces there was Harris's soundscape project, Lull, spelled Lull. He's released many albums under that name, many tracks for different compilations, Thoughts, Found, Scorching Ground. What's the name of it? Let's see. What's the name of that one there? Never mind. I forgot about it. But he released many albums under the name Lull, Dreamt About Dreamin', Journeys Through Underworlds, my favorite, Cold Summer. To me, it was a classic there. Of course, Continue from 1996, one track, 62 minutes long. And the one that came after that in 1999 was called Moments, which is 99 tracks. About 30 plus sound pieces collaged together, all divided into 99 tracks.
Mm.
How brilliant is that?
Well, another guy that, he played one instrument and sang was Phil Collins.
Yeah, it's true there. That's right. He played drums, he played piano on a couple of songs there. And he also was a good singer and a good songwriter when you look at it there. He wrote a lot of in-depth songs about his first marriage falling apart on all those earlier solo records he put it out, including a couple on Genesis. The album Abacat had a song called Like Ready or Not, You Have Taken Everything there. Or it's Like It or Not. I have to check there. It's been a while since I heard that track there.
Right.
I know. Let's see there. Also, we got to look at a guy out of Los Angeles. His name was Valor Can. He's the current leader of the group Christian Death, this death rock group out of the LA area there. He took over the Christian Death group after their original frontman, Ross Williams, departed many, many years back there. And Valor has been known to play more than one instrument. I think he plays piano. Guess he plays bass guitar as well as regular guitar, and a singer as well. So he definitely gets a nod as well.
Well, other than six-string, Stephen Stills,
Mm-hmm.
he might play some keyboard, but think it's mostly the sixth string.
I think it's so. Yeah, most likely. All right. Speaking of which, I got almost forgot. I got to mention this dude, Scott Santos, who currently lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, where Mars Mirror lives.
Mm.
He back in the 80s and 90s, he had a project band called the Oriental Spas. They were a damn good group out of Novi, Michigan. They released albums like their self-titled debut, Street Lines, one of my favorites from them, The Telling Tree from 1993, and an album called of somber music called Pain. Now on the on the credit list of that album there, he's credited as playing just instruments. His sister Laura did the vocals. This big guy played, some guy named Tim something did the bass guitar, and Kean Smith was the drummer of that, and Scott was basically listed as playing instruments, all the instruments there. Whether it's a slide guitar, acoustic, electric, a couple other drums here and there, blah blah blah. And Scott went under their various different names. He went on as Aaron Jade. He later became Jade, and just then Jade Scott. And he continued that up to the end of the spas, which I guess occurred in 1995. There, that's when the group decided to. Well, they did one. They were supposed to do one gig at a place called the Foundry. Scott's wife at that time, Mary, had a solo record on their record label, Overture, also based out of Novi, Michigan. She was in the middle of her set. I was looking to find Jade or slash Scott, and then boom, people started rushing towards the back of the dressing room there, claiming that there was a shot. Somebody fired a gun. Next thing you know, there was a scuffle at the front door there, and I guess when the security got shot, I don't know if it was in the head or in the gut or whichever there. I don't know if he made it through or died or whichever there, but that was the last night of the Foundry. It would later close up soon afterwards, which is a shame because it was a damn good place to listen to DJs, to hang out there. I remember the late Charles English, one of the classic Detroit DJs, would DJ there on Wednesday evenings there. And I miss that place. I do. I really do there. In fact, I also miss Charles English as well there. He was one of the coolest cats in the Motor City there when it came to playing tunes and that.
I think the Moody Blues only have three guys that sang, but they all played instruments.
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, the unusual one was Ray Thomas.
Yeah, I was going to mention. Yeah, he
played the flute, and
tambourine. He also played did a lot of percussion instruments, and he also wrote a few songs for the Moody's as well. I guess he played guitar as well there, but I guess mainly his position was simply backup vocals, tambourine, and flute, and that's about it. But he did come up with some good songs, like I think "For My Lady" from their seventh record, Seventh Sorin.
Right.
And also a song called "And the Tide Rushes In" from the Question the Balance album there.
Yeah. And Legend of a Mind.
Absolutely there. Great song from them. I think it's also Dr. Livingston, I presume he sang on that record, on that song, I meant.
Quite possibly.
I'm thinking so there. I could be wrong. But, it's sad that the Moody's are no longer there, but what can you do? I don't think Hayward and Lodge would want to carry on with the name with the Moody's name there.
Right, because Ray Thomas retired. I think he's still around.
No, he died.
Grammy Edge is. Oh, did he?
He did die.
Grammy
Yes.
Edge is dead.
Yes, and Mike Pinder, there was a.
Well, they lost him a long time ago.
Yeah, I know exactly. What the story was, Justin Hayward and Pinder, they were composing a song. They were getting into it, and Graham Edge was trying to interrupt him for some reason there, and Pinder just went off on Graham. And years later, in an interview, he did admit that whenever he talks to someone who knows Graham, he tries to tell him, "Please tell Graham I'm really am sorry for that incident." And we're like, "Why can't you just tell him yourself?"
Yeah, you would think that's how it works.
Exactly. It would be a lot more, a lot better rather than going behind with somebody than sending someone to talk to them and stuff.
Right.
Just approach them head on. Say, "Hey, I'm sorry I did this. I really felt bad. You think we could work shit out?" And because I'm sure, because I know Pinder admitted that he was really regretful about the way he uh, he angrily yelled at Edge like he did.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't think the Moody's were that kind of a band to yell at one another there.
It did seem to be.
No, I guess everybody got along pretty good there. But then again, we don't really know the full story until we hear it out there.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's see here. I know. Um, I think Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath, he did a little bit of keyboard work on a couple of the songs there. I think he played piano on the song Changes from Volume 4, if I'm correct. That's what I remember reading in the magazine there.
Well, he probably pretty much had to, because I don't think there's any guitar in that song.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Unless and it doesn't list anybody playing piano on that particular track, let alone the Mellotron on there, which they produced it very damn well. They've had that thing in the background with a large sound to it. Sounds like an echo there. Well, not really an echo, but it sounds eerie, but yet beautiful at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. All right. All right. So we also gotta definitely. I'm trying. You know what? I should probably start adding some people to the call. Let me look on who's available here while we do.
Well, we're running short on time, but I guess
Really?
if you can bring one for a little while.
Okay. Let me see if
Yeah,
I get.
I got 6:56.
All right. 6:56. So do I. I got the same time here. Let's see. Let's see if Carl. We can. Let me see if I can add Carlos Cabral. See how he's doing. It's been a while since we spoke to him. Since that one episode where we invite him on the show to talk about Scott McKinnon there and see if he's how he's
Well,
doing.
let's not do any.
I know. Let's not what
Let's
what.
not do any drama.
Okay, there. All right, and we won't be able to because he's unavailable at the moment there. All right. So I don't know what the hell happened with YR. And maybe something came up at the last minute there or something like that. We don't know. All right there.
That's okay.
All right there. Well, we'll probably get.
Do we want to continue Do we want to continue this till next Wednesday since we're doing the other two kind of off?
Well, let's see. Well, since we never got YR's list of people who did so there, especially this was his subject that he came up with there. I don't know what the heck happened
Right.
there. I could probably DM him probably sometime this weekend. Ask him if you want. We already did. Hey, we already did part one. Did you want to continue with us doing part two with your list of multi instruments who will sing as well?
Right.
All right, there.
And I can actually start looking around and see if I can come up with some others.
All right, there. I should probably do the same there, and definitely I think we should mention the Batman. I think we already mention the Batman Superman thing before we went live.
I don't think we mentioned it on the air.
All right, yeah, we should probably mention it on the air. And by the way, so everybody listening to the show, definitely look up Ark's Patreon where he discusses sports, music, TVs, movies. He has a whole bunch of stuff out there worth checking out there. Definitely check it out there. Pay whichever you need to listen to the content, whether it's $5 or $1 a month or something like that. Definitely check it out there. Believe me, you won't be disappointed. Got to plug my boy Ark here. You know,
I appreciate that.
yeah, you got to definitely do so. I think I'll also sometime on the next show we will probably put the link in the description on my channel here. It should probably also put your link on your channel just as well in the description about your show if you're live.
Right.
Yeah, right there, definitely. Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see how it goes there. And like we mentioned before, we do plan on doing a Batman and Superman two-part episode there on Ark's Patreon there. We'll probably do that on Wednesday afternoon. Definitely do so. Definitely have YR on it as well there. And we're going to be taking a look at these two iconic superheroes. Definitely. So next Wednesday afternoon, we will definitely look into doing that. I look forward to doing it because there's a
Okay.
lot to mention there.
Right.
All right, there. So I guess that concludes our show for today. It's probably the shortest show we ever had. You know, it's about 45 minutes
Or
since we
close to it. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much there.
Well, that's right. We started late.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we're trying to get a hold of YR. You know, I don't know what the heck happened there. So, you probably DM me on Skype later on explaining what the heck happened there. All right, so let me try and add somebody on the call. We're not going to add any drama here since we got people here. I want to see if Ken, Farmoff Ken, is available by chance there. I'll see if we can have him on the call. See how.
Casey.
All right, there. Let me check it here. Let me see here. Blah blah blah. Let me see if Redneck, who used to be with Real Spuck TV, Josh Hamilton, Tommy, Farmoff Ken doesn't see her. Let me see if I can get Ken on the call. See how he's doing. It's been a while since we talked to him. The last time I spoke to him was on when I called in on his show on that one Saturday night with Tommy on there. We were talking about the Accept show that I saw the week before. And it's kind of I know this is kind of a sun for you, Ken, if you're listening out there, but we should probably. I hate to close out the show, with just me and Ark. We got to have somebody on the line there to join in, and chime in on whichever subject we're discussing there, or whichever subject comes to mind, basically. Keep the show running as much as we can there. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So you heard that we may be possibly moving to Florida soon there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, I've mentioned a couple of times before on a couple of vlogs I did on my channel. The brother and sister.
Well, I listened to your vlogs, but I never heard that part.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. Well, I did one last night there to explain the whole thing, about me, trying to put some things in the past there, like some rules, some pieces of clothing there. Now, remember, I mentioned I often wear what they call a battle vest. All the heavy metalers out there would wear a vest with all these, all these patches on there, bands, symbols, and that there. And
Right.
my sister suggested, taking the patches off the vest because it's kind of way wore out. And she wants me once to suggest, no, we should probably find you a new vest to put that on there, because the color has faded, especially on the upper shoulders there because of the sunlight there. And some
Right.
of the jeans I've been wearing when I go out, has been faded out as well because of the sunlight there. Because Texas is a hot state. It's even hot during the winter time, whereas up in the upper northeast there, it's like freezing, rainy, snow, and all that shit there. And I guess that's about it. Farmoff Ken is not available, unfortunately. Well, I guess, like I said, I'll get a hold of YR and see if he is up to about, continuing this discussion here, or we could probably move on there. I still want to do a list of all the record labels out there that have still existing, came, went, there's a lot of record labels out there that are worth mentioning there. Especially nowadays, since all these bands out there have all these indie labels popping up, like Big Machine, Republic Records, labels like Vertical, and plus the major ones like Sony, Epic, Columbia, Warner Brothers, or now it's just called Warner's. So we definitely got to look at that possibly next week there. All right, there.
Okay.
All right, there. That sounds like a good idea there. All right. I guess that's the end of our show for this evening here. I'm about to do a couple projects here. I'm about to work on a new soundscape piece there. I recorded some of the basics earlier this afternoon, and I'm gonna work on this piece right now. I'm gonna possibly finish it up and see how it sounds afterwards there. So that's it for our show tonight. Like I said, we don't know if we'll do a part two after we get a hold of YR and see what he says there. And for Ark and myself, you guys have a good one.
Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.